Hey guys, welcome to another video. I changed my dress. I did just film my other little haul. I'm trying to film these on the same day, and I kind of want to post them on the same day as well if I can make this work. But I thought another fun another fun video idea would be to review all my mashup fragrances that I've done with MBK. They've kind of been sitting a while, and I thought, especially these first rounds, they've been sitting for a while. I'm excited to see kind of how they've developed and kind of what they give off now. I have sold one of mine. I think the mango note just didn't agree with me with the type of mango it was. So there's one missing. And if you've bought it from me, the Eva Beach mangoes, I'm hoping you're loving it. And yeah, hopefully you guys are interested in my, mashup ideas, and we can get started in reviewing them. I'm so excited. Okay, I moved my camera down a little bit because I didn't want it to look like I wasn't wearing a shirt. I didn't like how that was feeling. So I'm gonna go over, I think, the first round of mashups first. And these are the oldest ones. They're all extracts. So in this round, they hadn't yet started making everything in extract. So you had to specify that you wanted it in extract strength. So you can tell some of mine have been juicing up. They're nice and dark. So I'm really excited to get into these. Okay, so first up we have Pink Strawberry Fairy Dust, and that's what I named this fragrance. It has creamy strawberry fluff, little pink party dress, Cupid cakes, and fairy fluff. So if you want to take a note, smash my finger, I'm sorry. Don't look at that. Okay, anyway, I really love the combination of little pink party dress and creamy strawberry fluff. I might have mentioned this in one of my other videos, but something about those two together, they make a really good combo, and then you kind of add anything else to cream it up, give it more fruit, something like that. Base combo of those two fragrances mixed together is just really good. So off the bat, look, smelling this one gives creamy strawberry fluff, extra marshmallow, extra vanilla, but the little pink party dress, the kind of like fruity elements of that, give it just enough of a sprinkling on top with all that creaminess. Oh, it's just so pretty light, and it's giving me like an ethereal pink fairy. And I mean, that's why I named it Pink Strawberry Fairy Dust. That's kind of like the vibe it gives, like a little pink fairy floating around, and she's just drizzling like little droplets of like sugared strawberry, and that's like just how she smells. That's exactly what this gives off. I can't stop saying that in my videos. I'm sorry. I know it's gotta be annoying. I'm sorry. I just don't know what to say, and I get a little nervous. But this smells so good. Okay, so looking at Little Pink Party Dress, the top notes are raspberry, apple, sweet plum, and lily. And the mid notes are vanilla, marshmallow fluff, and the base notes are sandalwood and white musk. So this is kind of like, of my elements that I decided. We got these toys for Wi-Fi. Hello, I love you. He said I love you, but he doesn't know how to press the button very good. So it didn't come through. Okay, anyway. What's it called? So this was kind of the fragrance I decided to pick as in I did in all of these fragrances. There's kind of like one that stands out that you really want to like accentuate or amplify notes from. This is what I picked. I wanted the fruitiness to stand out, and like the notes that were at the top with the raspberry, apple, and plum I liked. And then it's like the other elements I added, like creamy strawberry fluff, fairy fluff, and Cupid cakes, just kind of gave it different elements to support the cream base. And what I did was take the middle notes of vanilla, marshmallow fluff, and kind of saw like the different fragrances kind of overlapping in that realm. And then so they kind of blend in that way. And then the top notes of raspberry, the apple, the plum, it's like those get to be elevated but still softened by all those melding of like sweet, like the angel's bread, the Cupid cakes, which is angel's bread, and the creamy strawberry fluff, which has a little bit more to amplify the fruitiness, because there's some fruitiness in that as well, but also a lot of marshmallow cream sweetness. And fairy fluff is a mixture of different marshmallows, so they kind of like had their moments where they overlap, and then it's like the fruity elements get to really stand out, if that makes sense. So that's kind of why I decided to make this blend, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Okay, my next mashup is called Perfume, Addict, Kryptonite, and I put Dash Nina. So my vibe for this one was supposed to be like, you know, in movies when they have like a special potion that's made for like the antidote for the what's called the villain or whatever, but it's specifically for that villain, and they like, It's like Antidote, blank, the Hulk. I know Hulk's not a villain, but you know what I'm saying? And that's what I was going for with that name, so it's a little corny and whatever. But it's with some of my favorite fragrances. Oh my gosh, my son is coming back into the room with his walkie-talkie. Okay, so the elements of this perfume were Confessions of a Perfume Addict, Creamy Strawberry Fluff, Cupid Cakes, and Fairy Fluff. So again, a lot of that creaminess and a lot of the elements of fruit at the top, because Confessions of a Perfume Addict is like one of my favorite fragrances from this house, along with Peaches and Pillows and some other ones that I've mentioned before. But the opening notes of Confessions of a Perfume Addict is spun sugar, marshmallow, black raspberry, sweet orange. Then the mid notes are magnolia, Tahitian vanilla, apple blossom, and jasmine. The base notes are vanilla cream and coconut cream. And as I mentioned with the other ones, Creamy Strawberry Fluff has some fruit at the top, a lot of marshmallow, a lot of cream. Sorry, I'm holding this walkie-talkie because I've been talking to my son, as I just mentioned, if you're wondering. Cupid Cakes and Fairy Fluff both have like a lot of marshmallow, so they kind of all blend there. So the reason I've only really been giving one fragrance and like all its notes is because that's the one I've been saying, like I try to make one stand out but just be accentuated. So Confessions was that for this one, and it's one of my favorites. So, oh my gosh, I love this one so much. Just that black raspberry and sweet orange and like the apple blossom. Oh my gosh, I love a good apple blossom or a peach blossom. I would love to smell one in the wild, but in fragrance notes, I love those. It's just those fruity notes really stand out, but they have so many elements of cream to dry down too. It's just so yummy. And the original is just so good on its own, but I just amplify the creaminess and the sweet powdery sugar. It's so beautiful. The next one I have is Pink Champagne in the Gala Garden. So, okay, it does have it. I was gonna say, I didn't see Garden Gala on here, and I was like, why did I name it that? But it is in there. So there's Garden Gala, Cupid Cakes, Apricot, and Little Pink Box Under the Tree. So this one, I will say, had a couple more elements of like standout fragrances, and then I added a little bit of creamy or fruit elements to it because I added apricot and Cupid Cakes. So Garden Gala, which I'll have to read, but I didn't have it pulled up. Little Pink Box Under the Tree is their version of champagne toast with some added marshmallow, added sweetness. So there's that element to it. There's some amplified apricot to really go with the top notes of champagne toast with pink champagne and peach to really juice up that top notes, because with Little Pink Box Under the Tree, the added marshmallow that they gives it almost like a haze of softness over champagne toast, which is beautiful. But I wanted to take that, amplify some of the juiciness of the peach and the pink champagne. So I added apricot. And then Garden Gala has similar notes to Confessions of a Perfume Addict in the top with like the fruit. Let me pull that up. I know it also has some of that black raspberry apple. It's kind of similar to Confessions in a way. And if I remember correctly, I think Erin has said Confessions is Garden Gala, Bianco Latte, or something like that, and sugared marshmallow. I want to say she left a comment somewhere once, and like I save all these little tidbits I find. So I think that's what it is. So it does have similar notes to Confessions in terms of that fruitiness. So I kind of took all that and I wanted to just give it a good like fruit juice amplification, and then give it some Cupid Cakes to kind of get that soft, powdery, vanilla sugar, angel bread type of feel. And I think it's dried down very nicely, or settled very nicely. Initially, the apricot notes, anything I put the apricot in, it felt very harsh and very aggressive. And it made me wonder if I had made a mistake by adding apricot to things. Because like I said, my whole point was to add a little bit of that juicy nectar vibe, which combined with other fruits, that's kind of normally what happens. But yeah, at first I got nervous that the apricot messed it up because it was so harsh and like it felt aggressive and it felt sharp. And I was like, oh man. But as time has settled, it's really blended into the fragrance and done what I hoped it would do to amplify that juiciness of the other fragrances. So I'm very happy with this one, and oh, it's just like a peachy, juicy, fruity, deliciousness. I don't even know what to say. But yeah, so that was the Pink Champagne in the Gala Garden. I don't know why I unintentionally made a tongue twister. So yeah, Next we have Peachy Pink Creamsicle. This one I was going for, as you can tell, a creamsicle peach type of fragrance. And so this one also has Little Pink Box Under the Tree, which, as I mentioned, is champagne toast with like added marshmallow, added vanilla. Again, I added apricot to try to juice up that those top notes. Vanilla ice cream to give it that lactonic vanilla feel, and sugared marshmallow, which I think was supposed to be fairy fluff, because I think I put it on my notes to add fairy fluff. So it might actually be, and they just didn't put it on the notes because they were super sweet in terms of these mashups, because fairy fluff wasn't offered, but they were super kind to me in letting me add it anyway. I just had to put it in the notes of my order, and so they fixed it. But I think this one, I think they put it in there but forgot to write that in the label. But anyway, oh my gosh. Okay, so in the same way that that last fragrance had that juicy peach skin and like kind of amplified by the apricot to make it really like nectary, it does that. But I feel like the vanilla ice cream and sugared marshmallow or fairy fluff give it almost like a home style vanilla dry down. So this one actually dries down to me like, oh, sorry, my nose gets so itchy every time I start smelling all these fragrances, but I love them so much, but my nose doesn't love it. But anyway, the peachy elements dries down almost like the elements of a peach pie, kind of like the way it's like nice and warm and sugary and kind of like caramelized, if that's the right word. It dries down almost like that, but not as rich. So imagine like the elements you like of that, not with spices or not like cinnamon, whatever you may put in the pie, don't imagine that, but just the sugariness of the actual fruit mixed with some element of like almost the fresh version of that fruit. So like imagine some fresh peach, imagine that kind of apricot-y, juicy nectariness, but if it was warmed up and caramelized, that's kind of like what this gives without being heavy. So it doesn't make me feel like it's sickly sweet or anything. So it's kind of perfect in that way, because like sometimes I like that scent profile, but what does it for me to make me not like it is that it feels too sweet and too heavy and makes me feel almost nauseous. So this is that perfect in between where that's kind of how it translates without being too dense and sickly sweet. So yeah, really happy with that mashup. So now we'll move on to the most recent round of mashups. Okay, so this most recent round of mashups was done around Mother's Day. So as a mother of 2 young boys, I wanted to name my fragrances after different moments or like categorizations of moments or things moms do to contribute to the lives of their children, if that makes sense. So that when I wear them, it's like I'm almost lifting myself up by being these things, if this makes sense. So I'll give you an example. But so one of my fragrances is called Nurturer of Young Hearts, because you know, when you're raising kids, you're teaching them to be kind and loving, and you're teaching them to have the heart for people and to like extend empathy, extend kindness, right? So you're being the nurturer of that young heart, okay? So, or this one's called An Unstoppable Force. A mother or any mother type figure in your life is an unstoppable force. They get so much done. They take care of everything. They handle business. They make sure the house is running smoothly. I'm not saying husbands don't do that. Not at all. They are a key element. My husband is amazing. But I'm just using this as my example. The other one that I have is called Heart of the Household. The mother is often, you know, the emotional element that they can see what everyone needs and they know how to bring things together and provide that emotional support for people or show them how to extend that, you know? This other one that I have is called Core Memory Coordinator. Ooh, that's one of my boys. And that one is like an example of how you coordinate all these memories for them to become their core memories and things that they remember about their childhood that they love. Noah, can you sit down, please? And yeah, so that's why I named it that. And this one is called Passport Stamp New Zealand. And as I mentioned in kind of one of my videos, this was... Oh, wow! Oh, wow. This was the biggest one I got because it was what I wanted to wear on our vacations to New Zealand, which is like a lot of times where we go as a family. And that one is kind of like...
Oh, new blue dress.
Yes, thank you. It's my blue dress. This is where we go as a family and kind of where it's my boy's first international vacation. So, excuse me. That that one wasn't really like a mother categorization, but it's special to me in the way that's like where me and my family go for vacation. Okay, so my first one that I'll kind of review is Nurture of Young Hearts. And this one has raspberry wedding cake, marshmallow moment, peaches and pillows, and absolute vanilla. So what I wanted to go for here was kind of like, sorry, I was like slamming things around. Kind of a rich raspberry vanilla cake, but I wanted to soften it and kind of lighten it up with the element of the peaches and pillows. So I wanted to add that nectarized fruit kind of vibe to it with the peach skin and the creaminess of that. And then the marshmallow moment, to give it kind of that sparkling sugar element to it, or sparkling sugar cotton candy, not cotton candy, marshmallow vibe to it. And then the absolute vanilla will kind of like dry down in the base and give it that like vanilla ice cream element. But raspberry wedding cake has red raspberry jam, black raspberry, buttercream, and vanilla cake batter. And sometimes to me, I like raspberry wedding cake, but sometimes to me the raspberry translates really harsh and really sharp. So it just kind of depends on the day and like the environment. When I first got my mashup, the raspberry wedding cake was still kind of harsh, kind of like how I was describing, just because, you know, it's kind of a dense, jammy, fruity buttercream cakes scent. So it just has a lot going for it to kind of translate that way. But I knew like I could soften it. And it's just like the perfect element of softness. Like I feel like raspberry wedding cake is also one of those fragrances that MBK has that like, no matter what you add to it, it kind of just takes center stage. But I kind of already knew that. Oh my gosh, my nose. And what I just wanted to do was to give it calm it a little bit and calm it down. And I think it definitely did that. And if I had to say something else that's really coming through, definitely the absolute vanilla, which I was hoping for, to give it that like base of almost like vanilla bean ice cream. That one turned out really well. And this has been sitting, I'd have to check how long now, but it's been a little bit. So it's definitely gotten really nice. And that's exactly what I was hoping for. Just give it a little bit of softness to the rich, jammy raspberry wedding cake fragrance. Yeah, I'm really happy with how this is maturing. Okay, the next one I'm gonna be kind of going through is An Unstoppable Force. So this one has peaches and pillows, the free spirit, simply vanilla, and simply vanille, sorry, and raspberry sugar. So this one, oh, I was so excited because before we did these mashups, I would put everything in like the fragrances I already had in like their individual fragrances, and I would put them in little, oh, where'd that sample go? Just like that sample vial. I have some of these of my own, and I would literally mix like a little bit of, I don't know, let's say Her Imagination and a little bit of Peaches and Pillows, and I would kind of mix those up myself to see, as it sat a little bit, how did they come together? Do I like that fragrance? And so that's kind of how I came up with my ideas. Some of the things I hadn't tried, and I was just like, okay, I think with this baseline, I could use a little bit of this and then see what they offered that had maybe notes of that even if I don't have it, I could be like, okay, I think that would add to this, or whatever it may be. So this one is Peaches and Pillows, the free spirit, simply vanilla and raspberry sugar, right? I wanted that creamy, almost tropical Tahitian vanilla of free spirit to soften Peaches and Pillows and kind of blend with it. So give it that like fresh peach skin, peach nectar with some marshmallow, right? Because that one has like a creamy, beautiful base. Have it blend with the tropical warmth creaminess of the free spirit. So give almost Peaches and Pillows that creamy element with the tropical creamy element. Blend those together. And as I kind of put simply vanilla and everything, I love it so much. It's just so good. Just gives it, like I said, that like vanilla ice cream base just really creams it out with vanilla, not just like a lactonic milky cream. And then, oh, the star of the show, I feel like, and it's not harsh, it's not aggressive, it's not in your face, but it just adds so beautifully to that peachy, tropical, warm amber Tahitian vanilla cream, and just a little dusting of raspberry sugar to kind of give it that juiciness back just a little bit. It's so pretty, and it kind of reminds me in like such a positive way of like a raspberry peach shampoo. I know it sounds crazy, but it's so clean, and it kind of reminds me of like the Herbal Essences rose shampoo. I know a lot of things do because I feel like I mentioned this recently, but if it was leaning more raspberry sugar, a little bit of peach instead of rose. But you know how that intensity and that clean, juicy element comes out in that shampoo, the pink bottles of herbal essences? That's kind of what this gives me. But oh, it's so sophisticated, like a pretty woman. I feel like just wears this. She's going out to dinner. She like brings light into the room. She has such a like a infectious laugh. It's not like aggressive. It's just like a beautiful, happy laugh. I don't know. This fragrance, once I got it, I already felt this way. But as it sat, it's gotten better. And this is, I think, my favorite or second favorite, because this one is definitely like, I got this in 100 ml because I already knew I loved it. But this one has got to be a close second. It's beautiful. So yeah, that's how that translates to me. Hopefully my passionate description conveyed enough for you and it wasn't just like a whole performance. But yeah, so that is an unstoppable force. Next, I have Heart of the Household. And this one has Nectar Dreamsicle, Peaches and Pillows, Marshmallow Moment, and Absolute Vanille. Oh my gosh, wait. I just realized Simply Vanille in this one, that's Tahoda. That's what that one is. So that one had more of a musky, true vanilla. And everything else that I kind of put was Absolute Vanille. So remember that if you go back and rewatch that. So sorry about that. That confused me for a second. I thought it was a typo and I was going on in my head as I was talking. And I was like, no, I think that's right. And then now that I'm reading it on this one, I'm like, nope, those were different. Sorry about that. But anyway, also when I put up my note cards, hopefully I'll remember when I'm editing this, but I had my collage mashups of what I was making. So I'll put those for note cards instead of individual note cards. But anyway, so yes, this has Nectar Dreamsicle, Peaches and Pillows, sorry about my tangent, Peaches and Pillows, Marshmallow Moment, and Absolute Vanille, or Vanilla. And that is the vanilla ice cream one. Whereas Simply Vanille is Tahoda, musky vanilla. Anyway, so this one, I'll kind of give the notes because I don't think I've talked about Nectar Dreamsicle really before in any of my videos. So I'll give a little context. Okay, I had to find this in a random post. I'm sure it's somewhere in the Google Drive, but it wasn't pulling up for me. So Nectar Dreamsicle is inspired by Albioca Mallow. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but it has fruity notes and apricot in the top, vanilla, cashmere wood, white iris in the mid, and white musk and marshmallow in the base. So the duo version of that is, I believe, apricot mallow, I think is what they call it. But this fragrance, or that Nectar Dreamsicle, like that profile, I always tell people when I'm describing it, it reminds me of like when you walked past, like in the mall, for me, it was the early 2000s, okay? I was only born in 97. But when you're walking past a Cold Stone Creamery ice cream shop, and for some reason I felt like the Dippin' Dots kiosk was always nearby. Maybe it's like the competition, they were trying to like be rivals. But when you smell that like cold ice cream air and it just has a natural sugariness, a natural kind of fruitiness from whatever's been made, like ice cream as a whole, right? The cold ice cream air in an ice cream shop near an ice cream shop, near a Dippin' Dots where they had the orange creamsicle, like just that vibe, that's what this smells like to me. The ice cream shop air and the way it smelled so good and it always drew you in, you know what I mean? That's what that smells like to me. So anyway, with that in mind, I also added Peaches and Pillows, which, as you know, has the, because I talk about it every chance I get, but it has, you know, the peach, the apricot, the heliotrope in the mid, and the kind of marshmallow base. So I wanted to blend that creaminess, but yet still a little bit of a fruity apricot note from the Nectar Dreamsicle, meld that with the Peaches and Pillows to kind of give it a little bit of, I'll call it nectarization, okay? I feel like I talk about this a lot, so I'll just call it nectarization, that process of adding like an apricot note to a peach to give it more of that juicy, round profile, to round out the profile. So I'll call it, I wanted to give it a little bit of nectarization, and then with the Marshmallow Moment and Absolute Vanilla, like I wanted to bring it back to really amplify like the sparkling marshmallow or sparkling sugar kind of element, and like a vanilla ice cream base, which already was really present in Nectar Dreamsicle, but I feel like it just amplified by adding those other two things. I'm sorry, I'm such a freaking mess. Okay, so this next one is Core Memory Coordinator. And this one is where I got a little bit different with what I was doing. So it has Peaches and Pillows, but it also has Tropic Like It's Hot, which is Miami Nectar. Yeah, Peaches and Pillows, Her Imagination, which is a juicy peachy mango sorbet, and Hawaiian Banana, which is Keali's Maui Banana. So I was definitely going for that creaminess and tropical vibe of Miami Nectar and Maui Banana. You know how it kind of gives that element of green banana to it in a way. It's still very sweet, but it kind of gives you that greenness of a banana. And the Tropic Like It's Hot, the kind of like beachy, aquatic, driftwood vibe that has. I wanted to combine those feelings in a way. And then the Her Imagination and Peaches and Pillows, I wanted to give it some nectarization, as I would say, because Her Imagination is like really juicy, intense, yummy mango peach, right? Oh, see, and that's like, I think I've mentioned in a previous video, but Her Imagination is, and that's this one if you've seen this kind of floating around. Mine's also getting nice and dark. But Her Imagination is one of those that can take over a fragrance. I feel like even when you do add-ins or you do little like mix-ins, because this one, I have Cupid Cakes and Marshmallow Moment in it, and it's no shade to whoever makes it, not at all. I just feel like Her Imagination is so strong. I don't smell those other things. And I don't really also notice that the fragrance changed at all. So Her Imagination is definitely one that like really can be powerful. So what I wanted to do with this one was try to give it a tropical, beachy baseline or backbone, I guess you could say. That's what I was trying to do. I love how Hawaiian Banana, like I can still see that coming through, but those Hawaiian Banana and Her Imagination go very well together. Like something about the way that the peachy mango translates, because it's really bright, like freshly ripe mango and peach, like almost to the point it almost still smells like it just like within 5 minutes was like, okay, you can eat me now. You know what I mean? It's not like it's been soft for a while, kind of warmed by the sun and like getting extra sweet. It's like that mango, is it mango lassi? I can never remember what that word is, where it's really like tart, juicy mango. So it has that element to it. And when you combine it with the Maui Banana, the way that almost a green banana off the tree that you can still eat, but the skin itself has that like greenness to it, but still a little bit of that sweet banana where you can tell this is banana skin, you know? Those two elements of those fragrance almost just meld together really well. I don't know what it is, or if it's just that undertone. I think it's just that undertone of greenness. That's kind of what brings them together. Anyway, sorry I'm rambling. I'm just trying to really describe to you what this smells like. But anyway, the Peaches and Pillows, and I feel like Tropic Like It's Hot kind of just, they just give it a little bit. There's nothing standing out about those two fragrances really, but I know that they kind of provide more of those creamy elements. So I feel like this all came together really well. I'm sorry that was like a big ramble, but with the completely different fragrances all coming together, I wanted to try to really describe how they mesh together and how each fragrance stands out or contributes to the overall mashup in my eyes. So sorry if I was rambling, but yeah, that's why. Okay, so we'll get to the last one, which is Passport Stamp New Zealand. So Passport Stamp New Zealand was my 100 ml purchase that I decided. And this one is, like I said, pretty much with all of these, I pre-mixed a bunch of the different fragrances that I had and put them together to see how I would like the blend. And so this one has Tropic Like It's Hot, Her Imagination, Hawaiian Banana, and Absolute Vanilla. So as you can see, it's kind of the only difference between, well, not the only difference, but the main difference between this is it's not Peaches and Pillows and it has Absolute Vanilla. So what I wanted for this was the Her Imagination and Hawaiian Banana, kind of how I said, that tart greenness of the fruits that are in them really blend together to kind of give it that tropical, sun, warm, ripe fruit. But Tropic Like It's Hot, in the way that they do it, brought it that kind of aquatic, fresh, beachy vibe. And then with that, instead of adding more, like say with Peaches and Pillows and that other one, adding more fruit to it, what I did was just add the Absolute Vanilla, which kind of gives it that like vanilla ice cream baseline to kind of, with those green elements, with that fruit, with that aquatic, give it something to kind of meld with the different vanilla elements in this and creamy elements in this, and bring it back to a baseline of like a vanilla cream to dry down to. So that's kind of also my approach to mashups, is finding, you know, and same thing with layering. I feel like obviously you kind of try to find like a commonality between everything and see what would layer with what, and like say this will go together because they both have vanilla or they both have pineapple or whatever it is, and then you see how those other elements in that fragrance blend together and see if those would contrast or add to each other. And so that's kind of my same approach with the mashups, is what vibe was I going for? In this case was like the ripe, juicy, warm fruit, because I want to bring this to New Zealand, and when we go, I think it's our winter time in December in Hawaii, but when we go there in the other hemisphere, it's their summer. So I wanted something warm, I wanted something fruity, something that'll heat up on the skin well, and so that's what I was going for. So when I saw the elements kind of like had a common baseline, I wanted them to come together but amplify the fruit. So yeah, anyway, smelling it now. Oh, this is so yummy. In this one, I love how the Hawaiian banana and the Her Imagination, they're not as like potent as they are even in just that other one. God, I'm like blind. In the Core Memory Coordinator with those other fragrances, because since it has like that vanilla to kind of calm it down versus adding another fruity element, you can already tell they've calmed down a little bit and just like softened. Oh, it's so pretty. Yeah, it's kind of similar to what I said about this fragrance with the Peaches and Pillows, where it's like you can see how those other two fragrances come together, and kind of like how I just said, but the main difference is that they've softened and they're not as potent. And I feel like this will also warm up really nicely because it has the fruitiness, but it just won't only be fruity, very minimal vanilla cream or lactonic, whatever it is, baseline. This one has way more of that with that Absolute Vanilla, and you still get the fruit. Yeah, see, this is why this one was my favorite. Even, yeah, these were all my mashups so far. The mashup event is like by far one of my favorites that MBK does, and they have a lot of fun things that they do, but this is by far one of my favorites. Yeah, if you have any questions about my mashups, or maybe you want suggestions for future mashups whenever that comes up, because I think they do it once a quarter, just leave them in the comments below. I absolutely love trying to like brainstorm and think of creative things to put together. I feel like that's one of the favorite, or like the best things about fragrance, is seeing like when you kind of mix and mash and like create your perfect scent or something that makes you so happy. I feel like that's what kind of makes it worth it. So yeah, if you have any comments or any questions or ideas, leave them down below. And yeah, I'll be happy to get back to you. I'll be very excited. I love interacting with other people who love fragrance, so let me know. Yeah, and if you guys have any other ideas that you want me to do, like maybe my next video could be like my favorite add-ins and like my ideas that I've had that maybe I haven't tried yet or I have tried, yeah, just let me know that as well. And thank you for watching, and hopefully my videos haven't been too boring. I'm just having fun with them, so hopefully they're not boring. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good night, and yeah, I hope we can chat in the comments. So bye.